Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Here is a new original story, just for your ears. Enjoy and do let me know how is it. Wake up to reality. Have you ever thought about freedom, what it is? Is it lawlessness or is it doing whatever we want regardless if it hurts others, or is it something else? Let's dive in our story. In the peaceful village of Esperanza, surrounded by rolling green hills, lived a young man named Diego. Diego had always felt a deep yearning for freedom and adventure beyond the confines of his small village. He often sat by the river, staring at the horizon, believing that true freedom was just out of reach. Diego's daily life was simple. He worked as a carpenter, crafting furniture and repairing homes. Although he was skilled and respected in his trade, he felt confined by the routine. The villagers, while kind, often spoke of duty and tradition. Diego craved something more, a life without boundaries, a life where he could explore and discover the world beyond Esperanza. One summer afternoon, the villagers were abuzz with excitement as an old wanderer named Raul arrived. Raul, with his tattered clothes and wise eyes, seemed to carry the secrets of the world in his weathered face. He walked with a staff and had a satchel slung over his shoulder. The children followed him, fascinated by the stories he told and the trinkets he carried from distant lands. Diego, eager to hear Raul's stories, invited him to his modest home. Raul accepted the invitation graciously. Diego prepared a simple meal of bread, cheese, and fresh fruit, and the two sat down to eat. As they shared the meal, Diego opened up about his feelings of being trapped and his longing for true freedom. Raul listened carefully, nodding occasionally. When Diego finished, Raul leaned back and said, "Diego, let me tell you a story about a man named Elian. Years ago, in a distant land, lived Elian, a renowned alchemist. Elian dedicated his life to finding the secret of true freedom. He believed that if he could create a special elixir, he would be free from all the constraints of the world. He traveled far and wide, gathering rare ingredients and studying ancient texts. Despite his efforts, the elixir remained elusive. Elian's quest took him to the farthest corners of the earth. He braved scorching deserts, dense jungles, and treacherous mountains. Each place he visited added a piece to his growing collection of ingredients and knowledge, but none brought him closer to the elixir of freedom he sought. His journey was long and arduous, filled with moments of hope and despair. One evening, as Elian was working in his laboratory, a woman named Serafina knocked on his door. Serafina was known for her wisdom and calm demeanor. Her presence was soothing, and her eyes sparkled with understanding. She saw Elian's frustration and asked, "What are you searching for, Elian?" "I am searching for freedom," he replied. "I want to be free from all the chains that bind me." Serafina nodded thoughtfully. "Come with me," she said. She led Elian to a serene garden where they sat under a large cherry tree. She asked him to close his eyes and breathe deeply. "Let go of your thoughts," she instructed. Elian did as she said, and as he focused on his breathing, he felt a sense of peace. Seraphine's voice was gentle as she said, "Freedom is not about escaping your life, but about changing how you see it. It is about finding peace and joy in the present moment." Elian opened his eyes, and for the first time he understood. The chains he felt were created by his own mind. True freedom wasn't something he could find in a bottle or a distant land. It was something he had to create within himself. Raul paused, letting the story sink in. Diego looked thoughtful. "So, freedom is not about getting rid of the things that hold us back, but about changing how we see them." "Yes," Raul said, "we all have jobs, responsibilities, and laws to follow. But we also have the power to choose how we feel about them. We can find freedom in our minds and hearts, in the way we approach life and the choices we make." Diego felt a weight lift from his heart. Inspired by Raul's story, he decided to live each day with gratitude and a sense of wonder. He understood now that true freedom was not a distant goal but a state of mind. Weeks passed, and Diego found joy in his daily tasks and peace in his heart. He no longer saw his life as a series of constraints, but as a canvas where he could paint his dreams and make his own choices. He noticed the beauty in the simple things, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, the laughter of children playing in the village square, the taste of fresh bread from the local bakery. Then, one evening, a stranger arrived in the village. This stranger, named Marco, claimed to have discovered the true elixir of freedom. The villagers were intrigued, and so was Diego. Marco promised that the elixir could free anyone from their worries and burdens. Despite his newfound understanding, Diego's curiosity got the better of him. He decided to visit Marco and learn more about the elixir. Marco lived in a small cottage at the edge of the village when Diego arrived. Marco greeted him warmly and showed him a small vial filled with a glowing liquid. This elixir, Marco explained, will give you the freedom you've always desired. Just one sip and you'll be free from all your worries. Diego hesitated. He remembered Raul's story about Elian and Serafina, but the allure of instant freedom was strong. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, Diego took the vial and drank a sip. At first, nothing happened, but soon Diego felt a rush of euphoria. His worries seemed to melt away, and he felt lighter than air. He thanked Marco and left the cottage, feeling invincible. For a few days, Diego enjoyed his newfound sense of freedom. He felt free from the burdens of daily life. He spent his days exploring the village and surrounding countryside, reveling in the sensation of being unbound. But soon, he noticed something strange. The euphoria faded, and he began to feel an intense emptiness. The tasks that once brought him joy now felt meaningless. He realized that the elixir had taken away not only his worries, but also his sense of purpose. Desperate to regain what he had lost, Diego sought out Raul, who was preparing to leave the village. Diego confessed everything, and Raul listened with a knowing smile. Diego, Raul said gently, true freedom is not something you can find in a bottle. It's something you cultivate within yourself. The elixir may have given you a temporary sense of freedom, but it cannot replace the fulfillment that comes from living with purpose and gratitude. Diego understood now. He thanked Raul and promised to remember his lesson. As Raul left the village, Diego felt a renewed sense of determination. He would live each day with a mindful heart, knowing that true freedom was not an escape from life's challenges, but an embrace of its moments. In the village of Esperanza, under the same horizon that once seemed to hold him back, Diego discovered that the freedom he had been searching for was within him all along. And with each passing day, he found more and more reasons to cherish the life he had. However, Diego's sense of peace was soon disrupted by alarming news. A series of thefts had occurred in the village. Valuable items and money had gone missing from several homes. The villagers were scared and confused, and suspicions began to rise. Many wondered if the arrival of Marco and his mysterious elixir had anything to do with the thefts. Diego, remembering the emptiness he felt after using Marco's elixir, couldn't shake the feeling that there was a connection. He decided to investigate. Diego started by talking to those who had bought the elixir from Marco. He found that many of them experienced the same initial euphoria followed by a deep emptiness. They were also the ones who had reported missing items. One night, Diego decided to confront Marco. He went to Marco's cottage under the cover of darkness, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery. As he approached, he saw a faint light flickering inside. Diego peered through the window and saw Marco packing bags hastily, filled with stolen goods. Diego felt a surge of anger and betrayal. He quietly slipped away and gathered a few trusted villagers. Together, they confronted Marco, who tried to escape but was quickly overpowered. The stolen items were recovered, and Marco was handed over to the village authorities. In the aftermath, the villagers felt a mix of relief and disappointment. They had hoped that Marco's elixir would bring them true freedom, but instead it had brought deception and theft. Diego, however, stood before the villagers and shared Raul's story once more, emphasizing the lesson he had learned. True freedom, Diego said, cannot be bought or sold. It's something we find within ourselves through our choices and our mindset. We must cherish the life we have and find joy in our daily lives rather than seeking shortcuts. The villagers listened and nodded, grateful for Diego's wisdom. They began to rebuild their trust and their sense of community. Diego, too, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He continued his work as a carpenter but also took on a new role as a storyteller and guide, sharing his experiences and helping others find their own path to freedom. In the end, the village of Esperanza became a place where people understood that freedom was not about escaping their lives, but about embracing them with gratitude and purpose. Diego had finally found the freedom he had been searching for, not in distant lands or magical elixirs, but within his own heart and mind. And with each passing day, he discovered new reasons to cherish the life he had built in the village he called home. So, how was it? Did you like it? If yes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel.